All right, welcome everyone to this week's bi-weekly edition of our What's Going On at Gentian. We want to let you know again what's going on here, what we're thinking of, what we're hearing from you, some of the different ideas that you wanted to know, and some probably stuff you didn't want to know. At any rate, as we go through, we've got a lot coming up. This weekend for myself, as I go big, I get to eulogize my grandfather. My grandfather was 94, more like my father, and I get to go to Fort Dodge, Iowa, spend 4 days with the family starting after tomorrow, and then have a wonderful celebration of his 94-year-old life. Also today, my daughter, Samantha, 14-year-old, graduates 8th grade and has a promotion ceremony to 9th grade. So those are two of my big happenings today. How about Ken?
Yeah, Chris, I can echo that. I'm grateful for the school season ending here on Thursday, which starts new routines at the house for the next 2 or 3 months, which is enjoyable actually. So it's a wonderful time. So also my daughter graduates to 5th grade tomorrow at 2:15. So there's going to be a ceremony for that as well. So grateful to see our young ones growing up and becoming young ladies, and all the future that they have ahead of them is really bright. So I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. How about Zach?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. For myself, just extremely blessed to have the opportunity to get more involved with a few nonprofits. One of those is Mel's Charities here in Ozaukee County, helps people with disabilities get involved. And then the other one is Next 18, helps veterans, firefighters, first responders through their traumas, through the game of golf. And really through that process, I've just been unbelievably humbled by the incredible people in my life. And really just for Gentian, the mentorship and the clarity of purpose, which is, I feel like my life is about to help, to serve, and to give, and hopefully comes through in every form. So just unbelievably blessed with all the things occurring in my life recently.
It definitely does, Zach. Thank you tremendously. I really appreciate that. How about Michael?
Thanks, Chris. Just super grateful and excited for my girlfriend Sabrina. She just started her new job this week. It's the next step in her professional career, and to just see how excited that she is, and to just watch her grow, it's just been truly a blessing, and I've really enjoyed it.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, a couple of things today as we kind of head into this graduation season. It's a time of rite of passage for many, if you will. And I think there's a lot that goes on with that, growing, kind of celebrating moments, if you will. You probably have somebody who has a graduation party in your neck of the woods or in your family as well. And it's a wonderful opportunity. It may not be so big for you, but I guarantee it's huge for them. They don't know it, but they'll look back on it quite fondly as well. So celebrate with them, let them understand how much you appreciate them and how much you've seen them grow. One of the things we've talked about recently in our book club quite a bit, which is the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's really I'm going to call it a groundbreaking book written in 1936, but really widely applicable today. But one of it is showing your appreciation. And I think that's one of the things I'd like to focus on here. I think now, for instance, I have a daughter, Samantha. She's 14. She's really wonderful. She loves school. She has a great time with it. But showing her the appreciation. Yesterday, I sent her a text about how proud I was of her, what she's doing, how she represents herself, and how she's growing into a young lady. And I get a wonderful text back that says, "Oh my gosh, no, thank you, love you, Dad." But those are the kind of things I think just randomly that make a big difference in somebody's lives. More importantly, if you can tell somebody who's been a mentor to you or made a decision with you, how you have been affected by them or how your life has been benefited by them. I think that's a wonderful thing that we can do. And starting and beginning in gratitude, I often do that. I'll have you bring out your phone and text somebody, that you appreciate them. Now, since I can't see you right now on the phone or on the computer, you can probably do that while we're doing this as well. The reply you often get back, if you haven't done that in a while, is, "Are you okay?" Which is hilarious. We did it yesterday with a group of pillars of the community. About 250, probably about 100 did it. And it is funny, some of the responses they get is, are you okay? Is there something wrong? So that's how often we do not share appreciation, that it becomes odd when we do. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Another thing that's going on, some of the different news items we can concentrate on or go through or just mention, and things that we know about. I've read a lot this last week by Howard Marks, not Richard Marks, the singer who sang "Hold On to the Night," but Howard Marks. He's actually an economist we follow. Brian Westbury as well. And I'd say it's not a rosy picture, they'll say, especially for what the economy might report, because the economy is reporting maybe a 16% drop in corporate earnings temporarily here. things that might be going on in the short term. It's interesting. There might actually be a recession that hits. The good news about that is it's typically a lagging indicator. You find out after you've been through the quarter, way beyond the quarter, that they revise things and go, oh yeah, we were in recession. So like I think Zach, Mike, Ken have all talked about this as well, which is we are in recession mentally, if nothing else. I see people today, I think some of the news is new car sales have slowed. Some of the biggest news in the markets is that the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour are merging. I mean, that's an indicator as well. I'm joking. But that happened too. 70% of consumers are really in a position right now where they aren't sure whether they should buy the things that they thought they would buy in the past. So it's interesting to watch those things too, and to see what consumers are doing. Think about yourself. Now, many people are still spending on vacations, landscaping, things that create an experience for them and their family. They're still willing to spend quite a bit, and they want to get that done and soon because they see, listen, gather ye rosebuds while ye may. So looking at those, the frustration of the market not recovering. Now it's been its highest close, I think here. It's from the bottom up almost 20%. I think Mike told me just recently. There's some incredible things that happen with that, but I guarantee you understanding human biases. We marked the highest point in our portfolios. We marked the very highest point was probably around December of 2021, January of 2022. And until it recovers to there, we feel there's not really accomplishment. I like to throw the highs and the lows out and say those are numbers that we just shouldn't pay attention to. Those are numbers of extremes. We look at something more moderate in the big picture, and there's incredible value in your portfolios, especially of the great companies you own right now. They're making massive changes, massive moves, and they're moving toward greater value for you, just like they've always done in the past. This is an opportunity for many of them. I know that this is getting long in the tooth, 18 months. We might be 24 months, who knows? But there's a lot of things that have been going on. Debt ceiling, I've heard a lot to do lately too with the Fed creating a electronic currency. I mean, these are the things that keep going on. Obviously, you've seen what's happening in the weather. You're seeing fires even here in Wisconsin, across the northern U.S., also across Canada, causing smoke here in the northern U.S. These are all things that are kind of interesting, but they all add up to little kind of micro tears, little things that maybe they're not super negative, but they're just negative enough to kind of pull your back and have your mood go, you know what? I don't think things are going so well. We don't see a lot of those appreciative things we appreciate right now, but we do see them in the long-term plan. We see that these are vital. Your plan is built for recessions. I want to let you know that again. I'm going to say it again. Your plan with us is built for recessions. We continue to do exhaustive research, bring you what's important, use what we find in there that you want us to use, but you don't need to know the details of as well. This is what's been going on for us for the last 2 weeks here, really doubling down on a lot of the research, the perspective, making sure what we're doing is really pertinent to you. And with that, I could continue on for the entire half hour, but I won't, because I've got, 3 wonderful associates here, and 4 actually, I'm going to say, to do our what we should really pay attention to. But I'd like to flip over to Mike's minute if we can. Mike, you've got a minute. Speak now.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to do so. So most recently in some of the meetings that I've had talking to our partners and their representatives, what we've kind of been hearing is there's a waiting game to really kind of learn how things are going to materialize, what's going to happen. And a lot of it is waiting on what the Fed is going to do, what's going to happen with interest rates. I mean, truly right now, the market's trying to figure it out. It's trying to figure out whether there's going to be a recession this year, whether it's going to be next year. And people are trying to make these predictions. But as we've seen coming into this year, a lot of them have been wrong. Nobody would have guessed that the S&P 500 could have risen from 20% since the December 13th low, or December 14th low. But it's happening. And so these things continue to happen. Is it going to continue to go up from here? Is it going to go back down? It might. But like Chris said, these things are built into the plan. There's different sectors that are all moving independent of each other, and we diversify across all of them. The other thing I want to mention is that with the debt ceiling bill that came out, student loan repayment will begin, and student loan repayment itself will begin in October. So 2 months after June 30th, interest will start to accrue again for those who have student loans. So August 30th at that point, with the first payment being required in October. So I just want to bring that to everybody as well. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. Isn't it kind of interesting? The single biggest asset on the Fed's balance sheet is student debt. And they decided during this time with which they're paying higher and higher, let's say, rates on their debt, they decided to defer the interest that they were going to receive on it. great for students, maybe not so great for students in the future. It's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul in some of these scenarios. So it's quite interesting. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. But I did want to say it's graduate season, right? And you've got a lot of college graduates out there, and this was kind of an interesting one. But how many university graduates does it take to change a light bulb? Well, one, but it may take up to 7 years. Anyway, that was a comment that was made by one of my clients when their recently son graduated after 7 years of college. I was hoping it wasn't 7 years of high school, but it was 7 years of college, 2 different degrees, but it was quite funny as you went through as well. So how about this, Zach? Zach's facts. What do we have going on? What should you pay attention to?
Yeah, sounds great, Chris. Thank you so much for the perspective. That's another go big for me, is just the unbelievable amount of perspective over the last 30 years of helping people do this. If we're just going through the market kind of indices year to date, the Dow Jones Industrial Average about 1.2% up on the year. The S&P 500 up over 11.5% to start the year. And Mike shared with us this morning that the measure of a new bull market starting. We're very, very close to it. So as of this morning, the S&P 500 opened up at 4,283. The bear market kind of indicator heading into a bull market is about 4,292. More kind of just noise and just an observation, but very interesting to look at, since Mike mentioned December 14th of last year. The NASDAQ is up 26%, almost 27% on the year. Last year, that took the biggest temporary drop. I believe Chris shared with us last year that a vast majority of the funds within the NASDAQ, or companies within the NASDAQ, were down over 50% or more. And a lot of these were technology companies. Some of those are up over 140% on the year. And some of those are the biggest companies in the world as well. International up about 7% on the year. Emerging markets right around 4%. A few other items of note is that small size companies represented by the Russell 2000 was kind of lagging the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, but the last 2 weeks has done very well as well. So almost 5% up in the last 2 or 3 weeks there. One item that we get questions on still is what to do with outside cash, or what about fixed income right now with the increase of interest rates. The 1-year treasury is currently at 5.22%, the 5-year 3.84%, the 10-year 3.69%. So this is why over time, last really year, we've talked about keeping things fairly short term and liquid if you can, to be able to adjust with all these different changes in rates. There's still some attractive money market and CD rates out there if you do have outside cash. With that, Chris, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. One thing to let you also know about Zach, if you don't already, is that he this weekend is about to run 100 miles in one day, which is amazing. So he's running it for Mel's Charities. I want to say it because it's a phenomenal task. Someday I hope to run 100 miles, but it might be over the rest of my life. So just in the bigger picture, it's really an accomplishment, and he's really watching him grow and run and push himself into uncomfortable places has really been a wonderful thing. So I just want to give kudos to Zach, to you on that one. Now, when I get into Ken's corner here, I want to say something first. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Ken graduated as valedictorian of his class. And despite that, he still wanted to work at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I asked him, Ken, why? He goes, it was always on my bucket list. So at any rate, Ken, I just want to introduce you with Ken's corner and your bucket list item. What do you have? What should we look at for planning right now? I know there's a lot going on. We're doing a lot with clients, but give us some gems that we should pay attention to.
Hey, the Colonel and I get along real well, so that's a good thing there. Absolutely. So, with school ending, you're kind of bringing up some dad jokes. I'll throw one here too. So, how is a teacher's summer vacation like someone closing their eyes? There aren't any pupils to see. All right, there we go. So there's a little funny there for a moment here. A few conversations we're hearing from clients right now would be on stock options. Not everyone has them, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them, but we're hearing stock options. Estate planning is a big one right now. Some of the trusts that you've created or you have potentially, or maybe if you don't have one right now, a lot of things have changed. A lot of rules have changed in the last 2 to 3 years. And sometimes when we're looking at your trust that you've created, sometimes we see them dated in 2009, 2012. That was all great planning. And a lot of that planning still is good for today.
there's language that needs to be incorporated into this as far as beneficiary planning goes, especially when it comes to the IRAs that you all own. So just make sure that, you know, where you're thinking about this right now. We tend to bring these conversations up in meetings, especially when we see something or we hear something that's going on. But estate planning, there's things that need to be updated, not necessarily revamped or anything like that, but just updated. What might be a good word there. So that's going on in the estate planning world right now. Taxes and gifting, these are topics that come up as well. With the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expiring at the end of 2025, that's the new tax system we have right now. There's two things there. There's the larger standard deduction that exists right now because of that. And there's also what is perceived to be a lower tax rate in some categories as well. So for example, the 12% federal bracket used to be the 15% federal bracket. So these things are going to be sunsetting in 3 years from now. And some of the conversations have been around the idea of paying taxes today versus waiting for tomorrow. So instead of kicking the can down the road, you know, why don't we take a look at what we could be doing today? So some of these conversations, you know, some of you like them, some of them are, you're like, you know what, I'm going to see what happens, and that's okay too. This is definitely an knowable future of what's going on in the tax rates. But if we want to be proactive and we want to take a look at a piece like that, then we certainly should have those conversations as well. The other piece there is, this one's a tender topic, and we tend to bring this up in certain moments, but there's something called a step up in basis after a spouse passes away, one of the spouse passes away. I know this is a tender topic, and that this isn't something we lead with, of course, but it's really important to know that if you have let's say as a couple, you have a Apple stock, or I shouldn't say Apple, just a stock in general, that maybe you bought for $10 a share, and now it's worth like $150 a share. There's a massive amount of gain there that if you decided to sell it while you're both on the journey together, you're going to pay capital gains taxes on that. When one spouse passes away, the $10 share steps up to the $150 share. So you get the gains, but you don't have to pay the taxes on that difference there, which is a massive tax planning idea. So I just want to bring that up. I know it's a tender topic, so I want to tread lightly on that one, but it does come into planning as far as highly appreciated stock, highly appreciated land that you may have, homes as well. So wanted to bring that piece up to you as well. The gifting, and I'm going to hand it back over to Chris here in a second here. On the gifting, there's really 3 or 4 different ways that you can gift, actually 4 or 5. Donor advised funds, we've talked to some of you about those. Qualified charitable distributions, this one's really popular for IRA owners that are over 70 and a half. Cash, we can give you cash, or highly appreciated stock. That one seems to be a question mark in some people's minds sometimes, is, oh, I didn't know we could give highly appreciated stock to a charity. So those are really the 4 ways. I'm not going to dive into them too much right now because there's nuances to each one of them, but just know that there's 4 or 5 different ways that you can give your hard-earned money if you decide to do that. And we can help you figure out what is the best one for you and help you optimize that from a tax standpoint, from your investment standpoint, from what your future plan looks like as well. We'll help you guide you on those conversations. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it back over to Chris.
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that. And sometimes with the tender topics, as Ken is talking about, they're necessary. You hire us to bring up what's necessary for you, even though it may not be something you feel comfortable talking about. A lot of us aren't comfortable talking about when our will matures, if you will. So that's the end of our lives, right? But it's a very important portion. It's a gift to the next generation, thinking outside of ourselves. It's very, very important looking at that as far as gifting, as far as some of the thoughts you have, maybe even ethical will. If you want to know more about that, let us know. But an ethical will is giving some of your thoughts to future generations about why you've done what you've done. And those are wonderful items you can add. Remember, here at Gentian, we're about planning it, living it, and giving it. So we start with the numbers. More importantly, we start with you. We start with what you're looking for, the concerns you have, what you want to accomplish, the fears you have. And looking at that, we want to put together some sort of a plan. How can we get there? What does it look like? What do we need for money? What do we need for significance? How are we going to stay healthy? How might we better ourselves during retirement? We've now had all this time we've worked and had family and all these things going on. Now we get a chance to concentrate on us. I'd say retirement is just the beginning. And that's the portion that we like to look at. That's what we at Gentian like to help with, if you will. We like to consider. We like to offer you different items. So for instance, one thing I'd like to do in talking today is asking you a question. A lot of times we feel a sense of significance or a lack of significance when we retire. So I want to ask this question. How do you get your feeling of significance? What provides it? Changed quite a bit since you were working, or maybe not. I would say this question is extremely important when it comes to what can I do more of to become or at least feel more significance. Now, what I want to say is it's not about what you have to do out there as much. Sometimes it's about what you have to appreciate in here. Here's what's interesting. A lot of our world outside, be it markets, be it economies, be it friends, be it society, is colored by what's inside. And I got to tell you, I've been working on the inside for 30 plus years, and I'm nowhere near where I have the potential to be, but I'm always working to be better than I was in the past. So I celebrate where I am now versus where I was. I don't worry about where I need to be. That's been a huge piece for me. I want to offer that to you as well. Where do you find your significance? For me right now, it's parenting. It's my wife. It's being a husband. It's being a member of the community. It's serving all of you, becoming better and better and better at what I do. And that's extremely important to me. That's significance. That's where I start to gain some of my identity. If work is stripped away, do I have enough other things to still feel significant, to still feel important? I can sit with you and I can show you things you probably don't appreciate, because each one of you, despite your feeling, has massive importance to someone else. I'm going to tell you this, you just don't know it because they don't tell you. You probably haven't told them. I think the world needs more communication. Right now, we have communicasms. We don't say what we appreciate about somebody else. We don't do a lot of the things that we should do for others. One example I want to give you from the eulogy and studying my grandfather over the past 53 years is I know somebody who is one of the most selfless people whose life has been spent doing things for others. It's inside of me. It doesn't always show up. My selfishness sometimes prevents it from occurring. But when I really look at the true character of who I am, who this man was, he's a phenomenal example for me. My inspiration, my is carrying on the torch, what he showed me. That is a great portion of my significance and what I have left to accomplish in this world. And if I can show that to anyone else, an egoless, humble man that's hardworking and grew up in the Depression. Most people don't understand these people. I want to not only be an example, and I want to show it more than tell it, but I want to carry that into this world to the future generations, to your children, to your children's children, to my children. I want to show them what it is and how they brought us up. So I just wanted to share that with you. I appreciate your attention on that. I know sometimes it's different topics than you might think of a financial advisor, but I really look at us as we're your retirement coach. I look at retirement as an incredible phase of life. It's probably one of the most important roles you'll ever take on. Your whole life leads up to it. Your whole life is working so that I can retire. But we need time preparing for retirement. What am I going to do or be in retirement? So it's almost like we need retirement university to learn all of that. That's really what we are here as well. We're a teaching, hopefully educational place, resource to share your ideas with other people, because you have a lot of phenomenal ideas. We try to share this with everyone else. So we want to thank you for making others' lives rich. You don't even know whose lives you've touched, but we share not your names, but a lot of the things you've done for significance for yourself, many of our other clients. So I want to give that to you as well. Thank you for your time being on this webinar as well. I'm not going to close. I want to turn this over to Julie and have her give us what's important to watch at Gentian over the next few weeks. Thanks, Julie.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Just a couple items as we go through June here, and then just another couple items to mark on your calendar. You will receive some additional notifications of those. Next Tuesday, June 13th, is our next book club, as Chris will lead us through part 4. So even if you don't have the book and you want to join in and get some great discussion, you're welcome to RSVP. We'd love for you to join us. Next Wednesday, June 14th, is our June birthday luncheon. So if you are celebrating a birthday in June, or even if you had one in May and could not join us, we'd love for you to join us on June 14th. So you can register through the bulletin or just give our office a call. Monday, June 19th, our office along with the markets will be closed in observance of Juneteenth Day. Wednesday, June 21st will be our next bi-weekly update, so you can register on the bulletin. Also on June 21st is our Learning to Serve You Better. Our office will be closed from 9:30 to 4 as we focus on getting better for you. So we will return calls and emails after that wraps up. Thursday, June 22nd is our Kristen Ellsworth's work anniversary, 7 years with us here at Gentian. So we congratulate her on that. And then Friday, June 23rd is our one and only Peter Nordenberg's birthday. So reach out to him and wish him a great day. Just a couple items to mark on your calendar. July 16th is our Sunday concert in the park. You should have received a postcard notification of that, so you can give us a call. Again, that's July 16th. Kane will be the featured musical artist. July 19th is our next birthday luncheon, so watch for that notification. And then just something to put on your calendars is for September 13th is our Shred event and Eat Outside Day. So that's going to be on September 13th. So mark your calendar. You will receive some additional information on that. So a lot of things coming up here. So we look forward to seeing you at those. So turn it back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate that. I want to end. There's a few funny things I was going through and I was going to share today, like artificial intelligence worries Hollywood actors as they enter high stakes union talks. AI can write the scripts better than the Screen Actors Guild can write it as well, which is funny. There's things like millionaires are hoarding cash. These are all sorts of headlines you're seeing. The one thing that I do find, and this is something I want to reiterate, is if you pay attention to the news, it will turn your general personal bend in a negative direction. I look at it from time to time, but I don't bask in it. And that makes a big difference. I tell you, if I was able to turn it off completely, and I don't fully because of you, I want to see what you're facing. It actually leads to a much better life. Many clients have thanked us over time, all of us, about the idea we've given, which is stop watching news. Some of the best you can give, I'm watching news, watching CNBC. Hey, what should I do? 2 words, stop it. So I'll leave it at that. It's a great Bob Newhart one. If you ever want to see Stop It, Ken uses it all the time. I love using it as well. But that's an important one. I really want to end today with gratitude and thank you. I'll be giving gratitude to my grandfather with him passing coming up this weekend. But I want to give gratitude very, very importantly to you for what you share with enriching our lives, be it on Zoom, be it in a meeting, be it ever so once in a while, or be it all the time. We see some of you, it seems like every week or two or every month, which is outstanding, but our lives are richer because of it. You make it easy for us to focus and to become better for you. I got to make sure you understand that. You hear it all the time, but I can't thank you enough. Across the entire team, from all 14 of us, even our newest team members, you guys are amazing. You guys are what make us wake up every day and want to be better as well. And I want you to understand that we appreciate you. Yes, I'm talking to you right there. Yep, you. Yep. Yeah. That's right. That's right. I'm talking to you, just so you know that. From the World headquarters of Gentian here, right here in Mequon, Wisconsin, I want to thank you. I really appreciate letting us help you plan, live, and give during your retirement, and also the introductions to your family members, to your friends, and to those coworkers who you really have made our lives sublime.